Congress just shocked Donald Trump with a new Epstein subpoena, and no doubt he's off somewhere sweating orange. Which, do you ever stop and wonder how often he gets painted that way? Who spray tans him? Stephen Miller? Is this the secret to their relationship? Just asking. Welcome to Occupy Democrats. I'm David Reddish. If you watch our channel, and subscribe if you haven't, you know that of all the scandals afflicting the Trump administration, which are legion, of all the scandals, there is one he cannot shake: his relationship with convicted sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. Last week saw the release of interview transcripts conducted by Trump's former personal attorney Todd Blanche with Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's longtime consort. The House Oversight Committee also issued demands to the Department of Justice to turn over all the Epstein files to Congress. They objected when the DOJ said the files would be released in waves and after they had a look at the materials. Here's what Congressman Robert Garcia, one of the Congress's most outspoken members when it comes to Epstein transparency, had to say about the state of the investigation.
Not much new here. That's the conclusion by Democrats on the House Oversight Committee after their initial review of more than 33,000 pages of Epstein documents released by the DOJ. And it found only 3% contain any new information. A DOJ spokesperson said it provided more than was ever requested. Joining us now, ranking member of the House Oversight Committee, California Democrat Robert Garcia. It's good to have you back on the show, Congressman. What do you believe is new here, and has it opened any new lanes of the investigation?
Well, first, that statement made by that spokesperson is just a complete fabrication. We received 33,000 pages of documents from the Epstein files. Of those 33,000 pages, 97% of them were essentially records that were already in the public domain. These are court documents, reports, records that have been accessible to the public now for, in some cases, for many, many months. And so not a lot of new information. There were some flight logs that were additional and new. About 1,000 pages of the 33,000 pages were actually new documents, of which, of course, we're reviewing. But we spent the weekend, our committee and our team, just going through that entire first batch. And it's clear that this cover-up by the White House and the DOJ continues.
Just you wait. They're not done yet. Stay with me. Needless to say, Americans all over the political spectrum continue to express outrage and frustration as Trump and his goonies go out of their way to protect Maxwell, who was transferred to a cushy minimum security after her interview, and Trump himself, especially as journalists continue to uncover darker links between Trump and Epstein. That includes a story in the Wall Street Journal earlier this year about Trump gifting Epstein a book on his 50th birthday that included a sketch of a nude woman drawn by Trump. Trump, of course, denied the story, with Trump even vowing to sue the journal and its owner, Rupert Murdoch. That hasn't happened yet, but as it turns out, Congress is already issuing subpoenas of its own. Take a look.
Has issued a subpoena to the estate of convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The subpoena seeks documents and other material related to the House Oversight Committee's investigation into Mr. Epstein. The estate has until September 8th to turn over the documents that the investigators want. So let's bring in CBS News Justice reporter Jake Rosen, joining us now once again from Washington. So what does the subpoena demand?
Well, a number of things, Reed. The first of which is that book for Jeffrey Epstein's 50th birthday, which the Wall Street Journal reported earlier this year. President Trump signed and left a personalized note for him inside of that. In addition to that, it's generally just dozens and dozens of types of documents that they're seeking that are not related to specifically the Department of Justice investigation, of which those documents started to be handed over last week to the House Oversight Committee. But in this case, it's specifically some of Epstein's personal belongings or things that he left in his wake after he died. Some of those, obviously, Jeffrey Epstein's will, one of them, potential references in any kind of documents he had to vice presidents and presidents. In addition to that, videos of Epstein's properties, and also that non-prosecution agreement that is at the center of that first kind of botched investigation into Epstein, in which the former Trump labor secretary in the first administration, Alex Acosta, reached a deal allegedly with Epstein, who said that if he pled guilty to specific charges, which he later did, that nobody surrounding him in any kind of co-conspirator like Ghislaine Maxwell or somebody else would be charged. That prosecution agreement, I should say, is at the center of a lot of the conspiracies and back and forth about what the Department of Justice knew, what it didn't know at that time, and why Epstein was allowed to continue being a free man after he eventually went back to civil life before he was re-arrested years later.
Well, Trump didn't think about that one, did he? True that the FBI and Department of Justice have most of the documents and evidence related to the Epstein crimes, but that doesn't mean they have all the evidence that relates to Epstein's relationship with Trump. And unlike the Department of Justice, the Epstein estate will have to comply and have little reason for delay. This could go a long way toward exploring the relationship between the pair. More importantly, however, it will likely raise new questions about Trump's knowledge of and his involvement in Epstein's crimes. That will help add momentum to the push in Congress for the full release of the files, including any evidence that may relate to Trump. And remember, Trump's biographer has said there is photographic proof of Trump's involvement. So, stay tuned. Count on us here at Occupy Democrats to keep you up to date on the investigation as it continues. I'm David Reddish.